I'm Leyla and this is Kerem. We are the actors of the TV series Heart of the City. We are very, very happy to meet you and have the opportunity to share our TV show with you. And
we hope you guys love it.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll meet in person.
Besos.
Ali, or Ali Smith, and what's interesting with Ali is they're opposite characters in the sense that one is in a cage and one's completely out of the cage. However, he spent a majority of his life on a cargo ship, or on cargo ships just traveling around the world. And the reason for that is when he was around 5 years old, we see his mother in Istanbul kind of in a panic taking him to a cargo ship and putting him in a lifeboat, hiding him in a lifeboat. You don't really understand why, but at that moment you see that his father comes and he murders his mom. And at that point, the ship that she left him on takes off. And so, kind of by chance, that's kind of where fate leads him to be, is in the sea, just traveling the world. 20 years later, one of the ships they're on comes back to Turkey, and you know, he's never gone back to Turkey. He never wanted to go back to Turkey just because it's a very traumatic experience for him. But you know, the ship comes and goes to the harbor where his mother was murdered, and he decides not to, you know, he's just like, we're only going to stay here for a day, so I'm not going to come off, we'll just end up going somewhere else. But one thing leads to another. He ends up seeing Dirin, and then, yeah, it's kind of a Cinderella story from there on. Knuckle fighter on these ships, which is common, you know, with, you know, betting and fighting and all that stuff. So what ends up happening is he becomes a boxer, because along the way, interesting things come up regarding his past, regarding who his family was actually, who was the man who actually murdered, was it his father who murdered, and all that stuff. I mean, I think what's really cool about the story is there's something that also motivates the audience in the sense that, you know, where he lost his mom, he found the love of his life. And yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. The preparation was challenging. I knew I was going to do this show for a little over a year, and I knew he was going to become a boxer, and a very good boxer, and just as far as boxing goes. So the training for me, I mean, you know, spending 6 months in LA, training for boxing, learning boxing, what is it, what is that, and you know, also building a form for it. I mean, it was an intense training for me as far as preparing for the character in that aspect. But yeah, besides that, I think shooting it is. The past 10 years, Turkey has become exponentially successful with, I think, selling their TV shows around the world, globally. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, there's 700 million people around the world that watch Turkish TV one way or another. And so due to this success, what I've been seeing is a potential rise in quality as far as just production quality. Obviously there's more money being put into production, but it's now that the audience is more so, okay, cool, we have a Turkish audience, but we also have a global audience. So now the content is also a little geared towards that global audience as well, not just focused on the Turkish audience. So I think with stories, there's a little bit of that. Okay, so it's cool, we're doing this for Turkey, but how is it going to interest the person in Chile or Peru or, you know, Finland? Hi, my name's Kerem Bürsin, and I play Ali, Ali Smith. Ali, he was born in Turkey, but at the age of 5, we see him and his mother. His mother is trying to, I think, she's trying to escape, and takes her son, Ali, with herself to the harbor. And one thing leads to another. She hides him in a lifeboat in one of the cargo ships. And at that point, right when she hides him, his father murders her, and he sees this, and right when that happens, the ship takes off. So it's kind of, you know, an involuntary escape of the country. But he spends most of his 20 years or so traveling from country to country on these cargo ships, and becomes a very multinational person. And on one of the ships, when he was 5, one of the cooks takes him and starts raising him and raises him. And so he's multilingual, knows 5 languages, has experienced life in a very different manner. Very opposite from Darren in the sense that he's a completely free bird, not in a cage. And but one thing leads to another. One of the ships he's on comes back to Turkey, and for him it's a very traumatic experience just because he kind of hates the country after what happened to his mother. But, you know, the ship comes, decides not to leave just because it's going to stay for a day. Then he sees Darren, and his life changes there. He also does bare knuckle fighting. Yeah, it's easier, I think, with Turkey, you know, just to compare with the U.S. And there aren't a lot of countries in the world that is like the U.S. The U.S. is alone in that sense, culturally, values, anything. But, you know, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of similarities with Latin America and Turkey, with the Middle East and Turkey, with some European countries in Turkey. So when you find those similarities and you involve them in a script or in and you tell this story, there, like Leila said, there's a lot of things that that person in Chile can hold on to, because he can be like, oh, well, I know what this is like. And as far as this show goes, I mean, there is a classic side to it as far as it is in some way a Cinderella story. That's how it begins. But also, I mean, I think a universal language that it underlies in the story is that there's an inspirational part to it. You know, one person is trying to escape from a cage, and then you have another person who's trying to actually achieve something through boxing, and so it motivates in any aspect. So yeah, I think it's got a good universal language that can actually touch a lot of people.
Turkish series have, how can I say, strong drama?
Strong, yeah, I mean, we like drama, so yeah.
Everyone likes
Turkey's
it, I think.
very strong with, yeah, no, you're absolutely right, emotionally, yeah.